What's going on, gang? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the NBA player props over on PrizePicks. We've got just one game to discuss, but it's looking like a very fun and exciting game nonetheless. If this is your first time to the channel, definitely subscribe, turn on notifications if you haven't yet. It's going to be more and more important that the notifications are turned on for all the videos that I drop because they have a shelf life of about an hour. And then PrizePicks will probably start tweaking the projections, going up, going down on some of the projections featured in these videos. So if you have notifications turned on and you act quickly, you have nothing to worry about. Now, yesterday's video, we got 4 picks out of 8 right. So, 50%, you know, it's okay. We've done better, obviously. We've had an 8 for 8 video, so that's what we're always shooting for, is perfection. But obviously, that is very, very difficult to do. So we're going to look to improve on that 4 out of 8 number yesterday and hopefully land on more picks today. The like goal yesterday, you guys absolutely smashed it. I knew that you would. So let's bump the like goal up a little bit. We're going to go for 41.5 likes. Taking the over. I always take the over. It's more fun to cheer for the over. So that means you guys have to have at least 42 likes on this video. I know you can do it. You guys have smashed that number in the past. So without further ado, let's get into some of these player props. I've got points props, rebound props, and 3-point make props that I want to dig into together. Of course, we do the research in real time here. I have initial hunches, but then we kind of dig in a little deeper as we do with all of our videos. So if you don't play on PrizePicks, there's a banner down at the bottom of this video here. If you use promo code Curry, you get a 100% deposit match on your first deposit on PrizePicks. Now is a great time to sign up for PrizePicks. I'll leave a link down in the description of this video, along with a link to our Discord community. There's a totally free Discord community, the best and biggest in my opinion. If you play on PrizePicks or make any sports wagers, definitely join our Discord community if you haven't yet. All right, so let's get into it. I've got 3 points props I want to discuss. The first one is going to be Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers. As I mentioned at the top of the video, they're taking on the Washington Wizards tonight. This game tips off at 8:20 p.m. So before we get into anything, let's look at the game totals real quick. We've got 237.5 implied point total here. So pretty high total, as has been the case for pretty much the majority of the season. Anytime the Washington Wizards are involved, those totals tend to be sky high. Now, on top of that, we've got a 3.5 point spread, indicating that this game should stay close and competitive. There's no real risk of a blowout here, which is a godsend because toward the end of the regular season, it seemed like there was a ton of blowouts. So I'm very, very eager to get into the playoffs, have more competitive games, have shorter rotations, have more predictable minutes and outcomes. So the playoffs for the NBA is a fun time if you're a fantasy sports player like myself. So with all that out of the way, we got an idea now of how this game shapes up. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be close and competitive. So let's look at the point projections here for Domantas Sabonis. They've got him projected for 24.2 points over on NumberFire, which is our free, absolutely free reference site. So you can go there to get point projections, rebound projections, assist projections, and they do fantasy point projections over there as well. So very cool site. So at 24.2, that indicates that maybe we should be looking to go under on this 25.5 point prop on Sabonis. Now, he did go under in his last game. So that is a good thing that we can kind of lean on a little bit. But we're going to head over to NBA.com. Obviously, NBA.com is absolutely free as well. I use this to look at the season averages, look at his 5-game averages, and see how they stack up. Now, for the season, according to his player card here, he averages 20.3 points per game. Now, that is obviously quite a bit lower than 25.5, so the under is still looking like a reasonable way to go here. But we're going to have to look at the last 5 games because the situations change quite a bit over the course of a season. So we're going to see how his scoring averages fare in his last 5. All right, so he's appeared in 4 out of the last 5 games, playing over 36 minutes per game, and his scoring average is actually down in that 4-game window. So he goes down to 18 points per game versus 20.3 points per game for the season. So that is another great sign for us. We've got projections, season averages, and 5-game averages that indicate that the under 25.5 points is a good look here. So we're going to wrap things up by going over to rotowire.com, and over here we can take a look at these various sports books and see kind of how the action or the juice is flowing on this 25.5 point prop for Sabonis. Now we've got 3 books here that all have him at 25.5. The first one's got him at minus 125 to go under, so that's a great sign. Minus 122 to go under, and last but not least, an even stronger position being taken out here, minus 128 on the under. So 3 books that like him to go under, projections that like him to go under, season averages that like him to go under, 5-game averages that like him to go under. The only thing that really scares me in this situation is this matchup is kind of a soft one against this Washington Wizards front court, and it's a high-scoring game, and it's a pretty close spread. So, proceed at your own risk, but if you have a gun to my head and you want me to make a decision, I have to stick with the under here, just going by the numbers like we do. So the under on Sabonis is my final answer. Now, you want to talk about scary propositions here. How about going under on 25.5 points for Russell Westbrook, who has just been playing lights out? Obviously, recently he broke the triple-double record, the all-time triple-double record. He stands alone at the top of the triple-double heap now, which is very, very impressive. That's a record that nobody thought would ever be broken, but Russell Westbrook said, I'll be the guy who does it. It is possible. Anyway, 25.5 points for Russ. Let's go ahead and take a look at his point projection over on NumberFire. Now, he is at 24.6 points. So both Sabonis and Westbrook projected for 25.5 over on PrizePicks, but Russell Westbrook is a slight favorite versus Sabonis to score more points, 24.6 versus Sabonis' 24.2. So all things are not created equal here. They like Russ to go closer to 25 points than they do Sabonis. So 24.6, obviously, though, still less than 25.5. So let's move over here to NBA.com. We'll type in Westbrook's name. Let's open up a new tab here. And you get a look at a season average for scoring, 22.2 points per game. That is a lot less than 25.5. So the under is looking like a good way to go. We got projections so far. We got season averages so far that indicate the under is a good play. Now we're going to go look at the last few games here and see how well he's been scoring during that time. Now, here we go. We got a pretty big red flag here. And I say that because in the 5 games that he's appeared in, he's playing nearly 41 minutes per game. And during that time, his scoring average is up. He's up to 27.8 points per game. So that is almost 6, well over 5 more points than he scored for the season. Now, obviously 27.8, also higher than the 25.5 point projection over on PrizePicks. So when I said this could be a scary proposition to go under on Russell Westbrook in a high scoring, close spread type of game, well, you can kind of see why here. Now, does that mean that I like him to go over? Well, I don't know what that means. It means that I'm scared to take the guy under. That's all I can tell you. When we move over here to the various sports books, we've got him at 25, 25.5, 24.5, and 25.5. So let's look at the 25.5 props that they have up. Now here we're even at minus 113. So not seeing any action over or under there. Over here we got him at 25.5. They're actually betting the under at minus 125. So they like going under on Russell Westbrook and this prop here. Now this last one, we'll just take a look at it just for reference sake here. 24.5 points, which is 1 point less than where PrizePicks has them. Now at 24.5 points, you're seeing a minus 120 for the over. So between 24.5 and 25.5 points lies 25 points. So things are kind of setting up for a 25-point game here for Russell Westbrook. Do I feel super safe about it? Do I feel super comfortable and good about taking the under on Russell Westbrook at 25.5 points? Got to be honest with you, I don't. But there is some information here, some data that suggests that it could be a reasonable play. Proceed at your own risk. That's all I'll say on that one. Now, the last guy we're going to talk about in terms of points props is Brissett, who is at 13.5 points. Obviously, Indiana Pacers power forward taking on the Wizards here. So let's take a look at Brissett and see where they have him projected to score tonight. Pretty short list here, so we don't have to do a whole lot of searching. They've got him at 13 projected points, which is less than 13.5. So if he scores 13 or less points here, we're in pretty good shape. So far, the indication is that the under should be the way we should look to go here on OB. Let's type in his name here to NBA.com, and we'll take a look at his season averages, his 5-game averages, and we'll move from there. Now, for the season, he has scored 10.9 points per game. Let's be friendly and generous here and round that up. Let's just call it a clean 11 points per game. Now, obviously, 11 points, quite a bit less than 13.5 here. That's a whole 2.5 point difference. So let's go over to his last few games, last 5. Hopefully we get a full 5-game sample here and see if his scoring averages go up or down from that 11 point per game season average. All right, so he's appeared in 5 of the last 5 games. He's playing about 29 minutes per game, and his scoring average is up. It's up to 13 points per game, so that's 2 more points per game versus his season average. Now, 13 is still less than 13.5, so 13 also happens to be the number that he is projected to score tonight according to NumberFire. Now, if this game for some weird, wacky reason does end up blowing out, I would say that Sabonis would probably see the bench early, that Brissett would probably get more minutes through a blowout type of situation. But if the game does stay close as Vegas predicts, well then I don't see a whole lot of usage for Brissett, and I still like going under on his 13.5 point prop. Now, last but not least, we're heading back to RotoWire here. Let's see if they've got Brissett up. They do. They've got him at 13.5 across 3 different books. The first one, minus 120 on the under. That is a good sign. Minus 120 on the under on the second one. And the third one has him at a bigger under at minus 125. So all 3 sites align, all agree that the under on Brissett is the way to go. We've got season averages, we've got 5-game averages, and we've got a projection tonight that also suggests that the under on Brissett at 13.5 points is a strong play. So I'm seeing a lot of correlation here. Don't really have any reason to take the over on Brissett. Unless, again, that one scenario where it blows out, maybe he plays garbage time minutes and gets buckets late in the game. Otherwise, I expect the stars to be involved here for Indiana, those being Sabonis and Brogdon, and to some degree, Doug McDermott as that third wheel now that Karis LeVert's going to be out. No Miles Turner, obviously. So moving on from there, though, let's talk about some rebound props. We've got one prop in particular. I try to avoid any of the props that are on PrizePicks that are rounded up or rounded down. So, 15 rebounds, 14 rebounds. I wish these were at 14.5 or 13.5 or over here 4.5. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying I avoid those props that are rounded up or rounded down because I don't like to push. When I put together an entry, I want that entry to be a clean winner or a clean loser, but hopefully a winner. So that's why I avoid talking about any props in the videos that have been rounded up or rounded down. So Bradley Beal's the next guy we're going to talk about. He's at 5.5 rebounds, and I think we've got a pretty clear way to go here on Bradley Beal. 5.5 boards seems a bit too high to me, so I'm looking to take the under on Beal and this rebound prop. So let's head back over to NumberFire. I mentioned before that they have props for all, or projections for all different sorts of statistical categories here. And in this case, they've got Bradley Beal at 5 rebounds. Now 5 rebounds, slightly less than 5.5 rebounds. So if we're looking to take the under, he's got to get 5 rebounds or less in this situation. So the under, keeping that in mind, let's move over to NBA.com. We'll look at Bradley Beal's season averages for rebounding, and then we'll move to his 5-game averages. Now, for the season, 4.7 rebounds per game. Obviously, that's less than 5, so that is a good sign of things to come, hopefully, here, if we are going to end up taking the under on Beal. So far, we got projections that suggest the under is the way to go. We've got season averages that suggest the under is the way to go. Now we're going to look at these 5 games samples and look at how well he's been rebounding there. Now, he's only played in 2 games in his last 5. He's averaging 37 minutes per game. Now, his rebound numbers during that time are 5.5 boards. Now, that would obviously set up for a tricky situation, a coin flip, if you will. So let's move this from season segment of 5 games to 10 games and see if we could get a little bit of a larger sample size here. Okay, cool. So this is a 7-game sample size. Now, during that last 7-game sample, he is averaging 4.3 rebounds per game. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable having a few more games to look at to factor in that the under is still a strong play here for Bradley Beal in these 5.5 boards. Now, last but not least, we're going to head back over to RotoWire, click the rebound button, it transports you over to the rebound category here, so you can take a look at the various props. And we've got him up at 5.5 boards across the various sports books. Now the first one here, minus 127 under. Very good play there. I like that. Minus 118 under. Not a huge under there, but still an indication that the under is being favored more than the over. And then last but not least, we are even here at minus 115 under and over. So we've got a couple of sports books suggesting that the under is the play here on Bradley Beal. We've got season averages, and we've got, we'll call it a 7-game average for his rebound prop. That suggests that the under on 5.5 boards is the way to go. And last but not least, we got projections that also suggest he will rebound for 5 or less boards in tonight's matchup. So I'm going to stick with it. Bradley Beal under this 5.5 rebound prop. Now let's transition over to the 3-point make section here. And then I'll probably backtrack a little bit. There was one assist prop that I considered, but it was rounded, and we'll get into that at the end of the video. But anyway, let's talk 3-point makes real quick. We got Malcolm Brogdon at 2.5 3-point makes. Now, on that 2.5 3-point make number, my initial gut reaction was that Brogdon may go for less than 2.5, meaning he'll make 2 threes, but won't make any more than that. So let's take a look at it together. Let's see how well Malcolm Brogdon has been shooting the basketball. So we do a little searcheroo here on NBA.com. We click the stats link, click traditional splits, and if we get our scroll on, we can move down here to the 3-point attempts category. Now he attempts 6.7 3-pointers per game for the season. And on those 6.7 attempts, he makes 2.6 of them, which is good for a 38.8% 3-point field goal percentage. So that's actually a pretty good percentage. Now 2.6, obviously a little bit higher than 2.5, suggesting that more often than not, he's leaning more toward 3 3-pointers. Now, not by much, but he's leaning more toward 3 3-pointers per game than he is 2 3-pointers per game. So a little knock, but not a huge concern if you ask me. So we'll change this to his last 5 games, try to get a sample size here. Oh, we don't have anything up for a last 5 games. So let's see what happens if we run a 10 game. No statistics. Interesting. Well, that's weird. We're not getting any type of recent. I had to run a 15-game season segment. So in the last 15 games, he's appeared in 5 out of those last 15 games. His 3-point makes during that time, just 2. So 2 obviously is a lot less than 2.5. We need him to be at 2 makes or less in order for this under to hit on his 3-point prop. Now, his percentages are also down, which is another good indication that we are trending in the right direction here. 32.3% during that 5-game span. All right, so we're going to head back to RotoWire. We're going to look for Mr. Malcolm Brogdon. And you can see he's at 2.5 3-point makes across the board here. And I'm seeing some very strong action on the under on this prop. Minus 159 under. Fantastic look there. Minus 148. Still very strong. And last but not least, guys, minus 175. Yes, sign me up. I just have to lock it in this case and hope for the very best, despite any other contradicting information I might have found on Malcolm Brogdon. I think that these numbers here on the under are just too hard to ignore. So I will be taking the under on Malcolm Brogdon. Love the way that's shaping up. Next guy we're going to talk about is Doug McDermott, who is also at 2.5 3-point makes. He's another guy that I'm looking to target the under on. So let's do a little bit of homework here together on Doug McDermott. See how well he's been shooting the 3-ball this season. He is the only Doug in the NBA. So we do a little search for his name. We're going to run through our steps here. Click stats, traditional splits. And we scroll down here. For the season, he's at 4.3 3-point attempts. Now he's making 1.7 of those 4.3 attempts. Good for a 38.8 3-point field goal percentage. So 1.7, obviously quite a bit less than 2.5. Now the situation, the dynamic with the Indiana Pacers and their roster has changed, obviously. So let's see what happens when we look at a 5-game sample for Doug McDermott. Now, he's attempting 6 3-pointers per game in his last 5 games, and he's making 2.6. So this prop now has become a little bit more challenging to take the under on. Now, I'm not saying that you should fade it. I'm not saying you should take the over. I'm just saying that 2.6 is more than 2.5, so it gives you a little bit of pause, but not too concerned about that in this situation. Not with Sabonis and Brogdon there. I think that there's still some definite legitimacy to going under on 2.5 3-point makes for McDermott. But forget what I think. Let's move over to these sports books here and see what's cracking over there. We got him at 2.5 on 2 different books, minus 139 on the under. Pretty strong indication that the under is the way that the majority of the people are going. And finally, minus 138 on the under there. So we got 2 books that agree that the under is the way to go on McDermott. His season averages for 3-point makes are quite a bit lower, but again, as I mentioned, the team dynamic with the Pacers has changed in recent games, and you've seen an increase in 3-point makes for McDermott during that time. So I'm still probably leaning toward the under on McDermott here, but I don't think I like it quite as much as Malcolm Brogdon. So we'll see how things shake out once the ball is tipped off. Now, the last guy I want to talk about is Rui Hachimura. Now, he's at 0.5 3-point makes, which is a very interesting number. So if you take the under here, you're basically saying Hachimura will not make 1 3-pointer. If you take the over here, you expect him to at least make 1 3-pointer. So 0.5, you don't see a 3-point prop at 0.5 very often, but let's head back to NBA.com real quick and we'll look at Hachimura and see how well he's been shooting it from beyond the arc this season. So we'll click stats. We'll drill down. Now for the season, he's played in 57 games. He attempts 2.4 3-pointers per game. Now he's made 0.8, so less than 1 3-pointer per game during that span. Good for a 32.8% 3-point field goal percentage. So 0.8 is obviously a little closer to 1 than it is to 0, indicating that there's a chance here that he could go for at least 1 3-point make. Now let's see what happens when we change this from a full season sample to just a 5-game sample. Let's click run and see what happens. All right, so in his last 5, he's appeared in all 5. Now his 3-point attempts, 2.6 per game during that 5-game span, still making 0.8 3-point makes during that 5-game sample size. So yeah, it's still, pretty much where he's been at for the entire season. So there's like a coin flip chance. So I'm going to say if you're just a plain flat out gambler here and you want almost like a coin flip type of situation just to have a little bit of action, you can definitely take Rui Hachimura in this 3-point prop. Flip a coin and then go with the over, the under on that. But we've only got one book that has a 3-point prop up for Hachimura to compare to. Now he's at 0.5 there, and they are taking the over, a minus 128 to go over. So they expect him to make at least 1 3-ball tonight. Now that would also line up to where his season averages and his last 5-game averages are at 0.8 3-pointers made per game during both of those sample sizes. So yeah, I guess I would lean toward the over here because it just seems like, yeah, he should obviously make 1 3-pointer at least, right? You would think, right? But you never know, guys. You just never know. So that'll be a interesting prop to kind of sweat out during the night. But yeah, again, if you're forcing me to decide, I'd probably take the over on Hachimura here. Now, I mentioned there was an assist prop that I liked that was rounded off, but kind of caught my attention because before I hit record on this video, I looked at a couple different sources here and I saw that those projections for this player's assist prop were less than or under 9 assists. And I'm talking Domantas Sabonis here. So let's go back over to Numberfire real quick. We'll click the assist category. We'll go over to Sabonis. Now, they've got him at 8.7 assists, which is less than 9 assists, obviously. Now, I had a couple of other sources that also had him under 9 assists, and I think they even had him under 8.7 assists. So they were even lower than the Numberfire projection. So let's look at this real quick together. Type in Sabonis' name. Let's open up his player card. Now, for the season, he averages 6.7 assists per game, which is quite a bit less than 9 assists per game, right? So then we click stats, and then we're going to go look at his last 5 games and see if those 6.7 assists, there's a lot of S's in there, 6.7 assists go up or down when we look at his last few games. Now, he's appeared in 4 out of the last 5 games, and during that time, his assist numbers are up to 10.8 assists. So 10.8 is more than 9 assists per game. So 10.8 is quite a bit more than where he's been assisting for the season and so on. So maybe the projections are wrong. I'm just throwing this out there as a possible flyer type of prop pick if you're interested in it. Now we're gonna go look at these different sports books here. They've all got them up at 8.5. Now at 8.5, minus 134 for the over, minus 128 for the over, and minus 133 for the over. So at 9 assists, what I would do is probably take the under here, and then I think worst case scenario, it ends up being a push based on what I've seen today. Now this is just a wild card one. If you don't want to play it, I totally get it. You don't have to. I'm just throwing it out there to make it a nice 8 prop video like we're used to. But anyways, you guys let me know which of these props you're liking the most. Drop a comment down in the comment section below. Leave a like on this video if it helped you out in any way. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss any of the content. And we're on our way to 1,200 subscribers. So thank you very much and good luck tonight. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.